A second. I'm waiting for everything because, of course, there's the whole delay issue as well. So it takes a minute to see if it goes live. There we go.
Hey.
Now we got it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, after I don't know what the hell happened, welcome to the Geeks and the Noob, episode 10. That's right, we're in double digits finally, even though it feels like we've been doing this forever and a day. We are in double digits with the new Geeks and the Noobs. Give me a second. Making sure YouTube went live as well. See here. No, no, stop it. Stop. Stop being a butthead. Let's get this. Okay.
Are we
Cool.
ready?
Cool,
Is
cool,
everything
cool, cool,
good?
cool. We are good. We are good. We are
Okay.
good. Welcome to the Geeks and the Noobs. I am SuperBeard Vince Hoover. Joined with me is Lily Cassidy, my co-host. Uh Man, that was a weird start. Uh
We've been
just
struggling over here.
I don't know if it was my OBS, if it was Twitch, if it was Yoo-hoo's a great chocolate drink. YouTube. But for some reason, things were going awry. We couldn't get things to work, but now we're working. Now we're here. Thank God.
Cool beans.
So, of course, as always, please like, subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live, when it works. Follow us here on Twitch, which some of you have just done recently. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, you did miss out on your dancing penguin, but I appreciate the love all the same. Also, if you could subscribe to our Twitch, it helps us out greatly in growing this podcast. The more we grow, the more we can do for you guys coming up in the future. Also, if you want, because Twitch is owned by Amazon, you can use your Amazon Prime account to pay for your subscription and make Jeffrey Bezos pay us. As also, I am wearing the new Geeks and Noobs retro shirt in the orange, in the kind of copper orange.
Very nice.
We've got all that available. If you go below our About section, there is a merch widget. You can order it now. If you don't want to order it right now, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/the Geeks and Noobs, and is spelled out. You join that for just as little as $3 a month, and you will have 24/7 access to our merch store, as well as access to these episodes and more content coming up. You'll have it before anybody else, days before anybody else. So also that's also the place where you can message me if you have ideas and stuff like that. So keep that in mind as well. Um, so hopefully Mr. Cool is back. He was here for one of our blank renditions. I don't know what happened. That was weird. And the thing is, I didn't change a single setting when we came back on. So I don't know what that was all about. But whatever. Hey guys.
Hello.
So
We're
we're
talking
here.
about Star Wars today.
Yeah, we're gonna talk Star Wars today. We're gonna talk the Book of Boba Fett. The third episode came out today, so we're 3 episodes in. And Peacemaker doesn't come out till tomorrow. Scream 5 doesn't come out till tomorrow. So we're gonna talk Book of Boba Fett.
I'm so
And
excited.
I was really looking forward to this series. Just like Obi-Wan coming up, I'm really looking forward to that. Ahsoka's getting a series. We're getting Knights of the Old Republic. There's a lot of stuff coming up for Star Wars that explores the world in a greater detail. So I was really excited. And Mandalorian, of course, set the bar very high. Um, Lily and I have very different opinions on this series. Because after the first 3 episodes, I thought it just wasn't good. It got better the second half of episode 3 for me. Um, it started to pick up and really feel like something I could actually get into. And I felt like the first 2 episodes really just dragged and dragged and dragged. It moved at the speed of smell. It moved slower than that Bantam he was writing. Like it was that slow. And that's just not good for something like this. Lily, however, has an incorrect opinion, so I'll let her go ahead.
Oh no. All opinions are welcome here. If
Doesn't
anyone
mean they're
is
right.
wrong, it's you.
If my opinion, the
um,
sky is red, doesn't make it right.
Gosh. Okay, so I love the series so far. Unlike Vince, I really appreciate that they have milked everything that they could in the first two episodes because it's something that I felt has been missing, especially for our understanding of Tatooine so far in the Star Wars universe. And in episode three, I am glad that things did pick up. In fact, the one part that I have an issue with because it was slow, but we'll talk about that later. First, let's talk about the character and how we know him so far before this series for anyone who needs to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you missed
Okay,
the
so,
entire 6.5 minutes of screen time for Boba Fett before this,
hey, stop it. Don't be a Debbie Downer just for the sake of being a Debbie Downer.
I love Boba Fett. That's the thing.
Okay, it's Boba Fett, son and clone of Jango Fett, who Jango Fett specially requested that Boba receive no genetic alteration or enhancement when he was cloned by the Kaminoans. His father, Jango Fett, is a former Mandalorian. That's where the armor comes from, and it has since been passed down to his son.
Real quick, before we go
Oh,
any further, actually, I want to touch on that about him being a former Mandalorian.
uh huh.
I know it was touched on at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian
Mm-hmm.
about how Jango was given the armor by a foundling.
Uh huh.
So he wasn't actually a Mandalorian, right? He was just an honorary. He was bestowed the armor by a foundling for deeds done. Like it was not like he was an actual Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
He was basically like it's like an honorary doctorate. But
Yes. The
I don't think
Mandalorians themselves have a deep, deep tradition and will value in who they are as warriors. So when you wear that armor, there is this idea that you carry with you that you come from one of the strongest tribes of people in the universe, which is not Boba, which is not Django. Django was a hired mercenary and bounty hunter. So his son is following in his footsteps. He does not follow the Mandalorian tribe, or I mean, I say tribe, but yes, he doesn't follow their tradition.
yeah, so like yeah, Jango was an honorary Mandalorian. Boba gets to keep his the armor because it was his father's and it was passed down to him, which is
Pretty much.
honored in that tradition. So
Yeah.
even though he doesn't follow it, yeah.
Hey, Tio. No worries. I mean, I don't think
I
these
get it,
spoilers
Tio.
will be
I understand why you're not caught up because it takes 17 hours to watch a 90-minute
Okay.
set of
Um,
episodes.
so Boba witnessed the murder of his father Django when he was just a young boy. He was murdered at the hands of Mace Windu. Even though it was a whole self-defense thing, he was still killed.
It's also a
Um,
badass scene.
I know
No,
the
okay.
fight on Genosha.
So let's go like as you're going through that, I think it's important that we talk about that scene in the Book of Boba Fett because they changed it. They changed the background, and there has been some uproar about the fact that they. I mean, all they really did was just take the beast that had fallen out of the background,
Hmm.
but it has pissed off a lot of people.
But it's intentional, and I agree with that decision. So
Well,
okay,
okay,
so
so that's why
to set
that's
the
what I want to know.
scene,
Yeah, that's what
to
I want
set
to.
the
And
scene, we're on the planet Geonosia. This is the very beginning of the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Padme Amidala, and Anakin Skywalker are all held captive, and the Jedi Council has sent um, pretty much all the Jedi they have ready and available to be dispatched, and their army of clones to Geonosia to save them. Count Dooku is like, fuck y'all. And
Christopher Lee, man,
Jango
what a
Fett,
dude.
Jango Fett, working for Count Dooku, goes after Mace Windu. There is a creature in Geonosian style that was meant to slaughter Anakin because they were all chained up on those posts and whatnot. Um, at one point, the creature goes after Jango and he shoots the creature down. The reason why that has been taken out of Boba's flashback um, is because I think this was a really great use of storytelling because, frankly, the creature did not matter. What matters in that scene is that Django was murdered by Mace Windu. That is the most important point of it, and like I agree with the decision to have that changed and edited out because the way we remember the past is not always the exact detail. It is not truthfully what happened.
Monster
What
Caesar
we
actually
saw.
said that with an imperfect memory, which everybody's memory is imperfect.
Yes.
Um,
So I
I
like that decision.
I I guess looking at it from the imperfect memory kind of way, Boba was more focused on his dad, so the background wasn't that important to him in the moment.
Hmm.
So we're supposed to be looking at it from, I guess, his perspective, but we're not. We're still looking at it from the same camera angle. So it was a little weird. Just it was a moment
Hmm.
that took me out of it for a second, but not anything that really, like, I'm not as mad, or I'm not mad at all about it. Like, but a lot of people are like literally flipping out. People are doing 20, 30-minute rants on YouTube about it. It's just that
Yeah.
one moment, which is
I
literally
get what you're
in
saying
the
in
very
terms of
beginning.
like the camera angles, but like
Yeah,
remember, it would cost a lot more to
oh,
recreate
of
that scene
course,
in
of course.
detail
Well, it's
as
also
opposed
here's
to
it.
recycling the footage
It
or
also costs
using
money to
supplemental.
edit. If you'd have just
Mhm.
recycled the footage, it would have cost them nothing, but it then cost them money to edit out the monster.
Yeah.
So I think that I understand the reason, like you're saying, like the whole like we need to focus on Boba in the moment, but it's really kind of an unnecessary thing to do. Like it
Yeah.
would have saved them money just to use the scene as is, and nobody would have bitched, and nobody would have cared, and you wouldn't have said, "Oh, they should have taken him out. It would have made it better." You never would have said that. While you understand, and I now understand where you're coming from, like you understand how the scene was made better by it.
Hmm.
You never would have looked at that scene and go, if they took that monster out, because you wouldn't have even given it a thought.
I
You,
don't know. I'm going to be touching on a lot of missed opportunities with this series so far. So we'll see about that.
yeah, there's quite a
Um,
few.
yes.
Um,
Back to Boba, though. After the death of his father, he joins a group of mercenaries, including the famous Aura Singh and Bosk Ness. We first see Aura in the Phantom Menace. During the Mos Espa pod races, for a brief second, you could see her in a shot. She's the very white-looking creature in an orange suit, and she's got an antenna sticking out of her head and this very high ponytail. She looks bald, other than having that ponytail.
she's killed by
And we,
Woody Harrelson. She's killed by Woody Harrelson's character in Solo, right?
yes, thank you. Okay, so we don't see that in Solo, but the very last reference to her, or not last, but most recent reference
Hang on, real
to
quick.
her
Caleb
character.
DeBar, first off, thank you for your comment, being the first to comment. Please, if you could, like and follow, you get a dancing penguin. But let me touch on what he says. He said they probably couldn't use the same scene due to changes in studio ownership and budget. Here's the thing: they absolutely could. Disney owns 100% of Lucasfilm. They own all of that footage, and it is the same footage. They just edited out the monster. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
reshoot it. They didn't restage it. It is that scene. It is the very frames from there that they shot. They just chose to edit out the monster. But Disney owns that 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
1,000% they own it, and so there's no matter of studio ownership and budget. Now, had it been a budget issue, they actually then wasted money by editing it out. If you get what I mean, it costs money to edit the monster out. Just using the footage
Well, it
cost them
costs money
nothing.
to put it in the
No, it
first
doesn't.
place. So,
It costs them nothing. They own it a thousand
because it's
percent.
still editing of adding it into
There's
okay.
no. Wait. There is no money in scenes that are already shot to edit in. They own those clips. In editing, an editor's dream is to have clips already done. That costs nothing. It costs Disney literally nothing.
That's not what I was saying though. I was saying if you're making the choice to spend the time to take footage that we already have and put it into something new, that is still editing that you have to do anyway. So,
But not really, because you're just taking footage that you have. I mean, it's editing, but it's literally like we're gonna pick up this clip and put it here. It's the
can
same
we
as like if they had shot it, the editor still has to pick up the clip and put it in place. This was just him going back in the digital catalog, pulling the scene and putting it in.
okay.
It doesn't cost. It's no extra time. It is no extra money. It literally costs nothing as far as dollars are concerned to just use a scene that's already been done in their catalog and put it in. and it takes the editor just as long to pull up the catalog of footage as it does to pull up the footage they shot. It literally costs nothing to an editor. So an editor, like when you tell an editor like we're going to use old footage, that's great because it's done. It's already color corrected. It's already everything you need to be done. So it saves the editor time because that section, albeit it was what 15 seconds, you'd say
Yeah.
that's 15 seconds of digital colorization he doesn't have to do, of color correction, of framing the whole night. It's done. It is 100 because it's the finished product. So it's an editor's dream to be able to use old footage that is done. But the fact that he had to put it in and then the CGI people had to go back and remove it, you've now given more work to the CGI people. And while he may have had to color correct it a little bit to match the rest of the aesthetic of the series, that is literally you highlight the whole episode and do your and do like a solid thing. So it really costs nothing to use that scene, both in time and in money. And this is from somebody who is an editor. That would have been amazing to do.
Cool.
And they
I
wouldn't.
I'm
Okay, wait.
gonna.
Monster says they would have had an upscale resolution and digital color grade for the footage. No, they wouldn't because that's already been done. If you watch those episodes on Disney Plus now, they're already remastered to Ultra 4K or 8K, and they're already color corrected. That's already been done. There was a whole other team that did that before. So they're literally ready to go with modern day. So that again, there was a decision there, and maybe it will get explored even further. And I like what you said when you're in your reasoning behind you think your reasoning behind it being done. I appreciate that because his memory, that monster wouldn't have been important. But again, I feel like also none of us would have thought about that if the monster had been there. All it has really done is while it's a cool like, hey, he's not focused on it. It's just given trolls and the typical Star Wars fan something to rant about and be pissed about and blame Kathleen Kennedy for because that's the other thing I've seen because it's her fault that the monster's gone. Figure that one out. So it wouldn't have cost anything, and it's already at the upscale that it would have needed to be at.
Yeah, I would just like to set the tone, at least on my part for this episode. I'm not going to be shit talking for most of this. There will be little, but most not. Because I'm trying to find not trying hard, but I'm trying to find things to be positive about because I'm sick of all the toxicity in this fandom.
I have plenty
Back
to
to
be look.
Orsing.
I have plenty to be positive about with this. Like I said, I thought it got better by episode 3, halfway the second half. But as much as I hate toxic, you know that I am very much anti-toxic fandoms. I think they're terrible. That doesn't mean that I have to like something, nor does it mean I cannot be upset over how something came out. The key is to just not be toxic. In other words, one, I'm not blaming Kathleen Kennedy because it's not her fault, and not even in the slightest. I'm not blaming woke attitudes, female characters, or sexism or racism or any of that because that has nothing to do with the problem with the show. It's a narrative thing. That's all. But go on.
Cool. Back to Aura Singh. Finally,
That bitch
our most
dead.
recent
Um,
our most recent reference to her. Wait, did I? Okay, so sorry. We first see her in Phantom Menace. She has no lines. She's just present for one moment there, but it's establishing that she exists in Mos Espa. And then later, when Clone Wars progresses, Boba meets her, joins her and Bosk Ness, and they have a group of mercenaries doing their own thing. We see her not quite frequently, but from time to time in the Clone Wars, she battles Ahsoka, just doing her thing, being a badass bitch, frankly. But then our most recent reference to her is actually in the Solo movie, where we discover that she was killed by Tobias Beckett. And frankly, that makes me very sad because, of course, I want to see more from the character because she's freaking badass. But we know that she is not going to be in Mando. She's not going to be in Book of Boba Fett because she is long gone. But anyway, she was there. She worked with Boba. Bosk Ness is the yellow Trandoshan character that we see next to Boba in their first appearance in Empire Strikes Back because he is a part of the team of bounty hunters that Darth Vader hires to search for Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon.
Real quick, I have trivia on that as well.
Hmm.
So he's a big lizard dude, right?
Yes.
Do you know why?
I believe the first use of that suit or the character was actually in Star Trek.
Yep, it's the very famous episode of Kurt fighting him in Star Trek with
Yeah.
the hill that I think it's in Nevada.
I don't remember that one, but I
But there's like
remember
an episode
watching that
they shot it.
episode.
Yeah, and funny enough, they purposely use that same exact location in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and
Ah,
it's the cliff they get thrown off of that sends them to hell. So,
yeah.
but yeah, so it's originally so there is a Star Trek Star Wars crossover.
Remember, there was a budget to Empire once upon a time. Recycling suits and costumes from other.
Yeah, there was a bigger
Um,
budget on that one. There was even a smaller one on New Hope.
mm,
But there was still a budget because the original plan was Boba
yeah.
Fett was supposed to be 100 Boba Fett's. Not Boba. He wouldn't have been called Boba
Mm-hmm.
Fett. They were going to be elite Star Troopers, stormtroopers.
Before the Mandalorian was
Ah,
invented as a race species
excuse
in
me.
the Star Wars universe. Bless you. Hail Satan.
It's not COVID. I promise. I'm okay.
Okay. Um, okay, so when Boba is a kid in the Clone Wars series, he joins Aura Singh and Bosk Ness, and they attempt to get revenge on Mace Windu for the death of his father. They fail miserably, and Boba and Bosk are captured and sent to um, a prison in Coruscant, I believe. Is it Coruscant? Yeah. Um,
Very good
they
episode of the
eventually
Clone Wars
escape.
cartoon.
Yes. And they eventually escape. But there's one line from the end of that episode, his interaction with Mace Windu, where he says, "I'll never forgive the Jedi," and that's important. I think we're going to see more into his relationship to the Jedi in this series. I hope. I hope that we do.
Well, there's a
Um,
key to Boba Fett in that because Mace is killed before he's able to get his revenge, his that rage is still there. Like he has no
mhm.
outlet for it. And no matter what he does, he doesn't have an outlet for that rage because that rage was very singular. And when that's taken away from him and he has no retribution, especially after a failed attempt, um, that is something that stuck with him. Which is also more reason why I have some issues with this series. But go on.
Well, I would just want to say I'm really excited to see if there's ever crossover with Ahsoka in this series, because she left the Jedi Order. She's been long gone. She's recognized that that she's seen the issues in the Jedi Order for a very long time. So I would love to see some dialogue between them at some point about the Jedi, who they are, who they've been, and what they've become or where they're headed. There's some discussion about that in the sequel movies with Rey and Luke and Kylo. I kind of want more of that though, more in depth conversation around
Do you think
the
we'll get
Jedi
it?
Order.
Do you think we'll get it this episode, or do you think we'll get it more in Obi-Wan
Uh, well,
or in her
don't
series?
forget that so Ahsoka is gonna have her own series later in the year. I wouldn't be surprised if we do not see her in the first season. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get any Ahsoka at all, but probably season 2 of Book of Boba Fett if there is one. Um, but if they do, they would probably hold it for the end, like they've done with Mando. Who knows?
Oh,
But
real quick,
mhm.
because now I've confused myself. Book of Boba Fett takes place,
After Return of the Jedi,
but before Force Awakens. It's like right after Return of the Jedi, right? Like
yes,
not like super long after,
yes.
maybe a couple years.
Well, at least all of the flashbacks that Boba has. There is so much that in Boba's story, as they have presented it to us so far, that we have not seen.
Well, because it takes place.
So,
Okay, wait, hold on.
so Return of the Jedi.
When does Mandalorian
He's,
How many years after Return of the Jedi is Mandalorian?
I don't know how many years, but it is a while. I'm assuming Mando picks up right after the first season of Book of Boba Fett.
I think
That's I think where they're
No,
taking.
Book of Boba Fett takes place after Mando.
Nope.
Because doesn't he get his armor back
I'm
from?
talking. So I'm going from the flashbacks in particular. So yes, the present of Book of Boba Fett does
Okay,
take
yeah,
place
yeah.
after
Don't
Vader.
count flashbacks when you're counting time on a series, because they're flashbacks for a reason. The book,
You're right.
the series takes place in the present, so the present day of the series is after. Okay, yeah, that other stuff happens
But
obviously
there's still
before, but
so much to cover. We still have to see Boba going after Bib Fortuna and taking over Jabba's palace, if we will see that in a flashback at all.
we saw a very. No, we didn't see him. Yeah, we
We
saw him.
haven't seen much of it
Who did
yet.
we see? We did see Bib Fortuna for a second in this episode, in a flashback, but it wasn't Boba. It wasn't Boba confronting him. I don't think.
I don't remember Bib Fortuna in that. Maybe my brain is just mentally blocking it out. But we have seen so many other. Oh, what's the species called?
5 years
I
after
should have.
Return of the Jedi, the Book of Boba Fett takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Cool beans.
The year 9 ABY. Okay.
Anywho, so in the Clone Wars series, after he and Bosk escape prison, they just go back to being mercenaries, and that's where he is, um, up until the movies and being picked up by Darth Vader to track down the little bad boys.
Well, mercenary or bounty hunter? Because those are two very different things.
Bounty hunter.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Because mercenary and bounty hunter are two very different things.
That's right. That's right. But gun for hire, for the most part.
Bounty hunters aren't gun for hire.
No, so in the this is what I'm saying. In the Clone Wars series,
Yes, the Clone Wars, yes.
as
Okay.
as
Yeah,
a
yeah.
kid, he was a gun for hire. He became a bounty hunter closer to when Darth Vader picked him up. Well, actually, that's a half true statement.
Well, I guess technically Darth Vader did hire the bounty hunters as guns for hire.
I'm thinking about his work. Yeah, so but in the Clone Wars, he is a gun for. There's one mission in particular that I'm thinking of where he's basically just hired to protect this cargo. Um, all to
So
say,
that makes him security.
no. It was gun for hire.
So
It
it's
was
Boba Fett Mall Cop.
no.
Does he get a space
It's better.
Segway?
It's better. Okay,
Does he have a
so now
mustache on the outside of his helmet?
so now we're at the Boba Fett series. What I want to
Somebody
do is
please draw me a Boba Fett Mall Cop. That's going to be our next shirt. I'm drawing that. That is our next shirt. I'm
you
writing
have
that
to watch
down.
those episodes though.
Boba Fett Mall Cop. He's going to have a mustache on the helmet and a tie, and he's on a space Segway.
So what I want to do is talk a little bit, talk about the individual episodes, what we like, dislike, what we would have done better. But then I've got some really strong theories that we should get into towards the end of this. Really
Okay.
important stuff. Have you seen Solo recently? Are you familiar with
I'm
everything?
familiar with it. I have not seen it recently, but I am familiar with
Okay.
it.
Do you know everything that happens with Darth Maul in the Clone Wars?
Most of it. I know
Okay, so
most
I'll
of what
have to
happens
cover
to
a
him.
little bit of that too. But in the meantime, let's go to the Book of Boba Fett series.
That's Darth. Yeah, Darth.
Go off, Vince. Why not?
Darth Maul is the. Yeah. No. See. This show sucks. No, it doesn't. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't suck. It's not good though. It's gotten better. Halfway through episode 3, right at about the time I was about to give up completely, it started to get better. And by the end of the third episode, I'm now excited to see what episode 4 brings. So I have not given up on the series. That being said, the first 2 episodes could have easily been condensed down to 1 episode, or the flashbacks could have been their own episode later on. They are not done well. They move at the speed of smell. There is so much, even if you like, I don't really like I'm not a huge fan of the building of the Tusken Raiders, but even if you are, there's still a lot of dead air, a lot of stuff that doesn't contribute to the story at all. There's no reason that a lot of these scenes are as long as they are when most of it is walking or standing or just panning across the dunes. There is so much wasted time. It feels like the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, where let's put in everything we shot because we need to get so many episodes out of this and we didn't do enough story. And that's what bothers me and that's what worries me is that there is so much time wasted in these first 2 episodes. And then on top of that, what we do get of Boba Fett in the modern day, he's kind of a bitch. Like Fennec should be running things. Fennec should be the one in the chair. She understands what it means to be a crime lord. She understands what it takes to rule that, and I appreciate him wanting to rule through respect and not fear. But he still needs to be a crime boss, and there still should be a little bit of an iron fist mentality, not a Jabba style, which I'll never understand why anybody feared a Hutt. I don't get that at all.
It's
And
solely just power.
the twins don't make any sense either. Like, why are people afraid of the Hutts? Like, there has to be more explored there because I never understood it back in the day, but that was because there was no backstory to it. So I'm like, there must be something as to why is this sloth, this gigantic sloth who doesn't really move, why does anybody fear him? Something had to happen. The Hutts, the twins coming in, like people were afraid of the twins. Why? Why? So I'm hoping that gets explored later, and I'm okay with it not being explored now. But up until now, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But like the way he handles the mayor, the way he just that fight scene in the first episode with the force field, the assassins of the night winds was terrible, and the parkour was terrible. Like, when you do parkour in a movie like this, it should feel like something that you can't do. There was, like, when they're jumping from the roof to roof and whatnot, and the assassins are trying to get away, I'm literally going, I can do that. Like, when you see parkour used in a movie, it's supposed to be like, when they were jumping from building to, there should have been like a flip or a cartwheel or a gap that seems impossible, and they're making that jump. Instead, they're jumping 3 feet from building to building. There's a spin around a pole. Finally, at the end of it, when she fought the two, right before fighting the two of them, we got one kind of cartwheel flip, but it just felt like, I was like, it's not good. And Mei Wing is a much better fighter than what they have allowed her to be thus far in this show. And she's a bad. I mean, hell, what?
Ming Na Wen?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's a
We
like
haven't. Okay.
she's Chun Li, man. In the '90s Street Fighter, she was Chun Li, and she's the perfect casting for that. She's a bad, and like,
So mad respect for Ming Na
oh
Wen.
yeah, she's
a phenomenal performer,
just
phenomenal
wonderful.
voice actor too.
Yeah, she's great in everything she does. She's fantastic.
Okay, so for the reasons that Vince does not like the show, I do. I'm the exact opposite, where I really appreciate that they took their time with the first 2 episodes. I totally understand disliking the flashbacks, the transition from to the flashbacks in particular. I was like, they're doing the same thing over and over again, where it's just a dream that he's having in this healing pod.
Real quick, that was something else you mentioned. You said transitions, and that's actually a key point here.
Mm-hmm.
We got one circular Star Wars transition wipe. Either do those wipes the whole time or don't do them at all. Don't just throw in one random one in the middle of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird. Now, episode 1 and episode 3 are directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
This is a name that should be familiar to a lot of people. Robert Rodriguez, he did Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. He did the Spy Kids movies. He's done so many things. And he's done so many things across multiple genres. Like, he is so versatile as a director. And he is one of my favorites. Like, Desperado, love that film. And Spy Kids is great. It really is. Like, it's just a great kids movie. And then the things he's done in between. It was incredibly disappointing to get to the end of that first episode and then see he directed it.
Mm.
Because it was like, as I told Lily, it was Downton Abbey in space. What the hell?
Downton Abbey, my
It
gosh.
was so slow and just, ugh. And like I said, there's so many scenes, like in the second episode where he's building that Tuscan weapon. That's nearly 6 minutes long. Why? Why?
Again, I love and appreciate all of this time being spent in Mos Espa, in the Star Wars universe, because
But
as a
that's my
fan,
point. It's not though.
I can you let me talk, please?
But you're saying nonsense because it's not. That's my point. I would have loved to seen that stuff if we had just gotten scenes that made sense and not these long, drawn out scenes of absolute nothingness. We're not gaining story, we're not gaining backstory. It's just a slow drog through this. And like I said, it felt like crap. We did not shoot enough to fill the amount of episodes we ordered. So we're going to take these scenes that we would normally cut down because they are not important to the story in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't know, spending 4.5 minutes just walking through the desert to go watch somebody steal something and then dig for water. Like, 4.5 minutes to get up to that scene. What the hell? Like,
I'm glad that we finally understand what it means to harvest
that's
moisture
great. That's
on
awesome.
Tatooine.
That is awesome that we know more about water. These water comes apparently in like these pods in the desert still. That's awesome. That was so cool to see. We didn't need a 4.5 minute buildup of just walking in the desert to get to that. What did tell me in that 4.5 minutes of walking to desert, what did we get story wise? Tell me, I mean, just if you can show me what I missed, I could appreciate it more. But tell me what we missed in that 4.5 minutes of walking through the desert.
But this is my point. Does every single moment have to be giving you something towards the story? Because I'm solely just entertained by every second of this because I like how it's shot. I like the tone that they are setting for the entire show. It's a combination of my nostalgia watching A New Hope and being excited that I'm getting even more of that. Because frankly, I don't think we've had enough time on Tatooine in Star Wars yet. There's so much about the planet, there's so much about the people that is so important about the
Okay.
characters that we grew
Again,
up there.
I actually agree with you 1,000%. I'm so happy to explore more of Tatooine, especially of all the stuff that happened that we don't really see that much of. What in that 4.5 minutes besides sand did we get?
I'm just saying I'm entertained and I like it. I like having the time. Not everything has to be.
You could take a single frame of that and put it on your wall as a picture and be just as entertained then. There's nothing in that scene. It's not about just pushing the narrative forward. There's
Can we?
nothing entertaining about 4.5 minutes of walking through the desert. There's another example of that. When I was playing, I played Uncharted 3 as a great example. In Uncharted 3, the plane goes down. He's in the middle of the desert. I almost turned the game off because you spend 9 minutes just walking through the desert. Now, did it look beautiful? Yes. Especially for a game that was a PS3 game. The remaster of it, and mine, I don't know if it was even a remastered version. It looked phenomenal. It looked great. But you're just walking through the desert. You could have done that for 30 seconds or even a minute long, and it would have been appreciated. But it just would have been a great appreciative, like, look at that. Great scene, great cinematography, great look at Tatooine. We don't learn anything about Tatooine. We don't. It's just 4.5 minutes of walking, and there's a lot of parts that are like that, and that's my issue. Like, there was just no need for these elongated, pointless scenes. Not every scene has to be necessarily storytelling, but at the same time, you don't need 4.5 minutes of not storytelling in one moment. And that happened a lot. Like the banta, like walking around with the banta across the desert. I think a minute to a minute and a half of that would have given you the vast scope of the desert and the slow drog of having to. This is what it's like going through Tatooine, is having to. It takes time because you can do that in a minute to 90 seconds.
So the third episode is actually my least favorite of all of them in the series because I think you can get away with that pace for the first two episodes, given that they wanted a majority of it to be those flashback scenes, but now they have expressed the intention of picking everything up in terms of the present and the plots of the present. So yes, I get that. Like in this episode in particular, how slow the bantha was going, that irritated me a little bit. It didn't irritate me as much as how slow the freaking speeder chase was
Oh my
towards
god,
the end of this
yes.
episode.
Yes. Well, I mean, then again, when you have space Vespas.
I want
Okay,
to talk.
look,
Okay, so here's the thing.
before
As
we
a
get
person,
on those people, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. The pacing of the first half of the third episode, like I said, I almost turned it off because at this point I'm like, why are we still at this pace? It picked up in the last 12 to 15 minutes. And I
so as a person who was born and raised in California, growing up in the Bay Area, you see all the inspiration for Star Wars everywhere you go. Dave Filoni was in some extra uh, footage that they have on Disney Plus about working behind Star Wars. Dave Filoni talked about when he got hired by George Lucas and what it was like working with him a little bit, and discussed no having to see Star Wars from the perspective of George Lucas in order to make more great Star Wars. As a person who grew up in the Bay Area, I see the same things that George Lucas saw when he was thinking about the design for Empire. The AT-AT walkers and how they look like all of these bridges in San Francisco, or between San Francisco and Oakland, and everything. So I get that connection, and I see in this episode in particular a really niche part of California where there's the lowrider culture and the car culture out there. So I was like, okay, Favreau, I get if this was the inspiration behind these really shiny, fancy speeders, but I really hate it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into that.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, that episode is called "The Legacy of Boba Fett." It's in the extras, I think. No, 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 no. It came up as a recommendation after I finished the third episode. But it's on Disney Plus. It's called "The Legacy of Boba Fett." It's 20 minutes long. It's really interesting. Definitely
That's
worth the
so
watch. It's really really cool, especially if you like Boba Fett, but also if you just like Star Wars because you get a lot of insight into a lot of it.
yeah.
Really really cool. But so in episode 3, we see uh, there's my stapler. There's my stapler. They said it's my
Huh?
stapler. They said it was my stapler. My stapler. The guy from Office Space with the red stapler. He plays
Oh.
the water merchant,
Mm-hmm.
and he says there's this young gang of basically like cybernetically enhanced teenagers that are stealing water from him. So Boba goes to get him, and
Well, he asks Boba to eliminate them
yes,
on his behalf. He's using his power and influence as someone who has a business in Mos Espa to be like, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. All, of course, in respect, kind of a thing.
yeah.
And
I was disrespected on your behalf. Is some or was it disrespected or was it
yes,
insulted? Something like that.
yeah.
I was insulted on your behalf is something he kept saying,
And
which was
immediately
so
I was like,
manipulative,
stop
so
kissing his ass.
manipulative,
Yeah.
so just
So Boba goes there.
between that guy and then the mayor's aide.
Well, that's
The
how everything in Mos
oh yeah,
Espa is run.
the condescension is on point. There's no condensation; it's a
There's
desert.
no condensation.
Um, the condescension though is
Yeah.
dripping. Um,
So Boba
there's another
goes
shirt. The condescension is dripping. No,
to exterminate them, but
Yeah.
immediately is like, nah, I'm not gonna kill these. This is who he's been so far in the series. He's not about killing people in order to uh, rule out of fear.
No, it's
That's
he
been clear from the very
yeah,
beginning.
he flat out said it. He's like, I don't want to rule out of fear. I want to rule out of respect. So he flat out
Yeah.
said it. Um,
So when we get the description of these cybernetically enhanced individuals, I'm like, I'm not thinking shiny and well dressed. I'm thinking street rats who are stealing but have like
yes, like
cyber arms. So
amputees because of injuries or because of disease, and they're having to replace body parts out of necessity.
So my biggest beef with this group of kids is in the design.
Oh,
I
I have
want to
so
know who
many.
on the design team went, "Oh yeah, we're going to make them dressed very nice and they have these very shiny speeders." And that's why I think it was like inspired by the lowrider and car culture out in from the Bay Area, because I was like, "Who thought of this? Where did this come from?"
What we
Uh,
thought we were going to get was like desolate people that were upgrading themselves out of necessity, out of, a need, or it was either that or be an amputee or die. So what we get is a bunch of Portland, Oregon hipster baristas, and their decked out space Vespas
uh-huh.
who treat
The Lord,
cybernetic replacements as their next tattoo,
yeah.
and they complain about not having jobs and they complain about not having money, yet they have the ability to trick out these super bright and brightly colored space Vespas with
Perfect
17
paint
mirror, like,
job,
yeah,
no scratches.
no scratches,
And
no
see, remember
nothing.
earlier when I said that I was going to talk about missed opportunities? This is it. There was definitely an opportunity to take this and make it about struggles of being a disabled individual,
Yeah,
and they threw that out the window.
yeah,
Could have been an opportunity to like see what it's actually like for people who are not in a position of power, to what it's like for them to live in Mos Espa, and we barely get any of that because
yeah.
like they're immediately picked up by boat. We don't see the struggle. They
No,
tell us as
they
opposed to
tell
showing
us in
us.
a kind of in such a condescending Gen Z way.
Hmm.
Like these were the TikTokers of Tatooine. Like these were like they straight up said, when they said it, I didn't believe them. I didn't believe their struggle. I just believed they were bitching about prices. And
Hmm.
like the fact that Boba Fett believed them immediately was one thing. Now, I did appreciate him going there with the mindset of, if I can, instead of getting rid of them, I'm going to hire them, because he understood that he's a new crime lord and he needs more people at
He
his
needs to
beck and
build his
call.
family.
So I was totally on board with that.
Hmm.
But the fact that
It just comes down to the design.
she literally
And
basically okayed boomered him, and he was like, "You've got spunk." Like, what the Boba Fett, anybody in that position, a crime lord would have slapped the shit out of her. And she's just like, they are all up in his face. They're armed. There are four of them, all armed. They don't have any weapons. Not that you see, at least. Like, they're all just standing around. And they don't have any issue with just like, they straight up, like, they were a combination of Gen Z, TikTok, and Karen. It was the
we don't
weirdest
see a
combination.
struggle. We just see the
Yeah.
attitude that
It's
uh,
like, this supposed struggle that they talk about felt like a Karen complaining about her rights, of like, why am I not getting this discount?
yeah.
Just because
And
my
then it
coupon is from
becomes
a
like,
different, like,
yeah, stick to the boss man.
my coupon's from a different store and expired 4 years ago, but I should still get this discount. Same attitude as these people. And then they
Yeah.
jump on their space Vespas, and they literally, I'm not even, that's not an exaggeration. They are literally Vespas. All four of their speeders are Vespas, and they're Power Ranger colored, bright yellow, bright
Yeah,
red,
it's
bright
like,
blue.
oh, we're seeing the red, yellow, blue, green color combination again. Oh my god, so new. It looks great. Never thought of that before.
I literally, I almost
But
owned a
yeah,
Vespa.
it's
Like,
mostly just the design.
they're straight up Vespas. Like, they literally, because you know how, like, in crap, the Phantom Menace,
Yes.
the razor that was his communicator, and it was a woman's
Yes.
razor.
Yes.
This is
Which I
literally,
have a TikTok video about.
yeah, yeah, that's why I brought it up. because that's a perfect example. These are literally Vespa bodies
Mm.
that instead of, and they used it a lot in Star Wars. They did that a lot where they took real life things, but then they would like bang them up, dirty them up, change them up enough that you didn't
But it's
notice.
the exact opposite
Yeah,
here.
no,
Like
they're just like I
it
was
feels
expecting to
so
see.
out of place.
I'm gonna go back and watch it again. I think one of them still has the Vespa tag on the back. I'm not joking either. Like I do think I saw it.
Yeah.
If not, it's just because I've seen those models before because I almost bought one. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell was that?
Okay, and here, so the production quality of the show so far has been pretty great
Yeah, it's great. It is great.
up into that scene where they have the chase on the speeders. It is so obvious, like the editing out, the painting out of the mechanisms that they have underneath the speeders. It's so slow. My God, I've seen grandmothers on their little scooters with more enthusiasm than that team. And that is dragged out so much. It was at that point where I was like, okay, there's a lot of good in this episode, but this is ruining it for me.
We had an Austin Powers steamroller moment where the oh, what is that called? Where the bot is, what are those called?
I
Crap.
don't know.
Where you're being on a cart and you're being like somebody's got like on a bike or they're running with you. So it's like two sticks and you're sitting on a cart and they're like, there was a scene
What?
with the bot where their bot was going across the street and the bot stopped and looked and the mayor's aide was running down the street in his speeder and all of a sudden his wheels the bot's wheels spin
Oh
up.
yeah.
Those are, what are those called? They're, it starts with an R. The whatever.
I don't remember. Anyway. Oh,
Rickshaw,
also
rickshaw,
that
rickshaw,
bot was the
rickshaw.
bot was a direct reference to the Phantom Menace, by the
Yes,
way.
yes.
I really like
But
that.
that was very much like the Austin Powers like steamroller scene
Mm-hmm.
where it like the guy's like no and it takes forever and a day because the bot gets out halfway in the road, hears something, stops, looks, goes, I think they're headed like there, you could see like this moment like it was this really slow realization and all of a sudden he
It's
goes
meant to be fast,
and then he got
but it's not.
then he straight up road runnered the dirt running in place with his wheel like wee and then goes and they still get hit. I was like, oh my god. And then this whole planet is about saving water and the guy
Mm-hmm.
purposely knocks down a giant water tower. Like I was like, well,
Yeah.
you're a dick.
Well, I mean, it also speaks on how much privilege you have when you are in a
Oh
position
yeah.
of power. But again, we would have gotten that more if they had changed the costume design of that group.
Yeah, because
I
that
don't even
group
know
was
their name.
dressed exquisite too.
All of their parts extremely shiny
Yeah,
and
but like the
new.
clothes, like the one guy with the eye aesthetic, like his, I
Yeah.
want that suit. Like that suit was badass.
Forget how much money it would have cost them, or like they would have had to scrounge up to buy those pieces.
And why were their
Oh,
clothes matching the colors of their Vespas like Power Rangers?
okay, but also it would have been a character choice or a reflection of who they are as people to have them look dirty. Because they
Yes.
look so shiny and new, that tells me they don't know shit about the real world. They've never been in a fight. They don't need to worry about their parts like just getting messed up or how the heck they're gonna function. Like, they just come across as really rich brats
And
who
speaking,
don't know struggle, and that's the exact opposite of how they're written, and
yeah.
the whole point of Boba picking them up.
Oh, and
So,
speaking on the whole, like missing the ability to elevate the disabled community.
uh-huh.
When we get to the scene where he sees the Pikes and he
Mm-hmm.
radios in
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, "Keep an eye on them." Oh, sorry. Oh, no worries. That's why I paid top dollar for this. Just again, completely bury the like. No, I'm not disabled. I did this to me on purpose. I'm also rich enough that I can buy this, and yet I bitched about prices of
Exactly.
water. What the hell? We don't have a job, and yet somehow I can spend
We
a
can't
ton of
afford
money
water.
on a. I can spend a ton of money on and amplifying my abilities with cybernetic enhancements.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm a rich spoiled kid who's like, was it the tattooing hype house you went to? What the hell?
Yeah.
Like that bothered me so much.
Yeah.
so
Okay,
much.
honestly, this is a bigger issue to me than everything else pacing
I
wise.
agree. I actually agree. No, I agree. I'll take the slow pacing if they fix that.
Yeah.
I honestly, if you told me it's either slow pacing or I fix that, 1,000 times over,
And
fix
that's
that.
what my perspective has been ever since I watched the episode at 3 in the morning. It ruined this so much for me. Had if that was done well, I absolutely would be shitting on be shitting on the pacing right now. But I'm not, because this is just, it ruined episode 3 for
Yeah,
me.
that was it.
Everything
Really
that they
pulled
did
me
with
out.
Black Chrysanthemum, which we'll get into a little bit by the way, just, and the Rancor, I was like, okay, this is good, could be better, and then like everything went downhill from the speeder chase.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Rancor, and we'll get into that.
Have
Um,
you seen I know you haven't seen a lot of Clone Wars. Have you seen Bad Batch?
no, I do need to watch that. I haven't watched that yet.
Okay. So there's an episode of Bad Batch where we get a little more information about the Rancors. They have to do a side mission and eventually go to this planet where a Rancor is the thing that they're protecting, transporting. I can't remember. I have to revisit it. But we get to see young Rancor and how they live, function a little bit as packs, just a little bit in that episode. And then the information we get on the Rancor in this episode is that they are very emotionally deep creatures,
Yeah,
which I love.
I love that too. I thought it was great because part of like people were like, why was the trainer so upset over the Rancor getting killed?
Because they have such a big
Yeah,
bond,
like,
strong
and
bond.
literally in just a few lines in this episode, you go back and think of that scene. You're just like, oh, dude, and now you want to cry along with them.
I know, right?
And like, but also, I'm a huge Danny Trejo fan. I love him. I love Danny Trejo. And Lily didn't know who that was. I want to put that out there. The fetus had no idea who I was talking about.
The
Um,
name wasn't ringing a bell. I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
but I
fetus.
know of
I love
him.
Danny Trejo so much. I want to go to
Okay,
I want to go to California and buy his overpriced tacos. That's how
he
much I love
has
him.
he has a really great cameo, well, not cameo, but like appearance in Fanboys, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, if you remember it. If anyone here doesn't know it, Fanboys is just another movie about Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
um okay, and Caleb told me earlier that I have to bring up the ayahuasca from the second episode. It's
Yes.
also okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ayahuasca
Yeah.
is also a thing in the Fanboys movie. But yes, with the lizard in episode 2 and the ayahuasca trip, I think that was really well done.
I do. I actually that scene was the again. I thought it was a little long, but it was not as long as like a lot of the other scenes, so I was okay with it. And I do think it was done well. I thought it looked great. I thought how they made the sand look like the water of his home planet was really cool.
Yes,
The
beautiful.
tree engulfing him, just like the sarlacc, was really cool. The fact that his
Hmm.
new weapon was made out of that same like that tree,
Branch,
like that
yeah.
whole like that like in the fact like now again it did give me Star Trek vibes when the lizard went up his nose because I thought about the Wrath of Khan when the insects
Yeah.
the earwigs went in their
Or
thing.
literally
But
any sci-fi reference to a parasite. We have hive minds in Star Wars 2 in the Clone
could you
Wars as
imagine a
well.
gecko like going up your nose? Like that's
Ugh.
crazy.
Do you see
um
how small my nose is?
yeah,
Like, it freaked me out.
yeah, I was just like no
I
thank
can't.
you, no
It
thank
would tear
you.
tissue. It would break a part of my skull just to get into my body if it went through my
Yeah, that's a
nose.
weird way for that to go in.
Hmm.
And then he said he thought he swallowed it, and I just thought that line was weird. Like, dude, you know it went up
Well,
your
because
nose,
the
right?
nasal passage does
Well, no, I know,
connect.
I get that, but still, like, I'm like, you know, it went up your nose, right? Like, it didn't go in your mouth, and I know they're connected, and you could technically swallow something that way,
Yeah, you swallow your snot all the time.
but you would have noticed if it went down and not up into your brain, which is where it was headed.
Anywho.
I would have,
um,
I don't care how much of a, like, I could have been a bounty hunter out in space and fought, and climbed out of a sarlacc, and, which, by the way, let's talk about that real quick. We didn't mention this in the episode one.
mm,
One of the absolute best moments is him getting out of the sarlacc
yeah.
because it is a direct
Direct reference!
It is a direct line for line, frame for frame, from Patton Oswalt's filibuster in Parks and Recreation,
Yes.
and that is amazing.
But could you imagine it any other way done
Not after
better?
that scene. Not after Patton Oswalt did that. Had nobody done that, yeah, I could have imagined it 1,000 different ways. In fact, it is imagined in one of the games, I think. Or was it a series? No, it was a game.
There are a lot of fan movies that do the
In
exact same
in
thing.
comic book movie and in the comic books there's a scene where he gets out of the Sarlacc too. And it's
Hmm.
obviously very different. Um so obviously I can imagine it any different way had we not gotten that scene with Patton. But once he had done that, that scene's iconic. Like
Hmm.
it's iconic, and the way he like, and the thing is, yeah, he's acting in that moment, but he's genuinely passionate about that, and he wrote all of that. Like it's
Yeah.
not the script that he's reading; that's all stuff he wrote.
Yeah.
And first of all, I love Patton Oswalt. By the way, if anybody ever gets a chance, um, his Netflix special right after the passing, a year after the passing of his wife, uh, Assimilation, I think it's called something. It starts with an A. It's absolutely amazing. Please go watch it. It's phenomenal. Also, real quick, I want to touch on one other thing when it comes to comedy. We did
Hmm.
lose Bob Saget the other day, very
Hmm.
unexpectedly. Um, this one hit me really hard. Bob Saget has always been a big influence of mine and a big inspiration of mine when it comes to comedy. A lot of people, of course, know him as Danny Tanner from Full House or the original host of America's Funniest Home Videos, and they've not seen his comedy, and he is a vastly different person on the comedy stage. He is actually one of the raunchiest comics out there, but it actually all makes sense, and it's not just raunchy for raunchy's sake. And he was actually like that long before Full House. Like his stand-up's always been that way. He was a big influence on a whole lot of people, and his death, it hits hard. So just um, putting that out there. If you get a chance, go watch some of his specials too, because great, great comedian and amazing, amazing guy. So definitely worth checking it out. But yeah, so that scene was awesome.
Okay, so this is eventually going to get a little full circle. Um, but there's a lot to cover in when it comes to the Wookiees and the Trandoshans.
I was getting ready to ask, are we getting to the Black Air Force One Wookiee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to start with the pit of Sarlacc for all of this because I found out yesterday that if you look up a photo of Boba Fett's armor and check out his right shoulder, you will see a couple of braids that are part of his armor. I found out yesterday that those braids are Wookiee hair.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
That's one of the
it
reasons that Chewie hates him.
Yeah. um, so they disappear in the pit of Sarlacc because they're eaten away by acid, presumably. We don't see them on the armor at any point beyond that in the series. Remember, Boba Fett is tight with the Trandoshans. He worked with, was friends with Bosk Ness for a long time, who is a Trandoshan. The Trandoshans hunt
Oh my
Wookiees
god.
for sport. What?
Bosk gave him a Wookiee hide as tribute.
That's not Bosk, I don't think.
It is. He says hi. He literally says his name and says, I used to work for him. And
Exactly.
it's
Dude,
him.
this was covered in my TikTok video that you missed. I took
Well,
it
I
down
don't
because there was so
stalk your
much.
page.
That's
Um,
okay. I tagged you in it.
oh, you did?
Anyway, okay, so yes,
But yeah, he gives him
if
a,
that
I
is
just realized
Bosk,
that.
let me cover this really quickly.
Oh,
Um,
that's fucked up.
Trandoshans hunt Wookiees for sport in the comics. We see a lot of, or not a lot, a little bit of this in a couple episodes in the Clone Wars
I'm double
series,
checking this, but go on.
where Ahsoka and some other Jedi Padawan are basically stolen right from the war and taken to this island to be hunted by sport by the Trandoshans as well. And that's where Ahsoka meets Chewbacca for the first time, is because Chewbacca is one of the people dropped on that island to be hunted. But yes, in the comics, the Trandoshans absolutely hunt down the Wookiees for sport. There is a lot of beef between the two species. They do not like each other. Black Chrysanthemum is a Wookiee. In the comics, he was exiled from Kashyyyk because he put another Wookiee in the way of the Trandoshans. He harmed another Wookiee, and that Wookiee died. So they were like, "Nah, bye, bitch."
It
Um,
is a Wookiee hide.
it is a Wookiee hide. So I'm going.
Oh.
Yes. So I made this video yesterday, being like, and we're going back to missed opportunities. I wonder how Black Chrysanthemum would react to finding that Wookiee hide if he ever did go to Jabba's palace to hunt down Boba Fett or whatever would happen. They don't address that at all. But at the same time, Black Chrysanthemum isn't really loyal to his species because he was exiled. He is a very ruthless character. He was a gladiator for a long time. He is an excellent killer. Tall, strong. We see. I like the
So well
fights.
designed too.
Yes,
That like
I like
oh,
the fight sequence that they have in episode 3. Poorly edited, but or poorly shot and edited, but great work.
great fight scene. That yeah, you're right. It's just I don't
Um,
necessarily think it was poorly edited. I think that he just had what he had to work with. I just think it was poorly shot. Like I said, a lot of it was like we got a lot of strafing that we shouldn't have gotten. So I feel like it was, and that can come
we
down to
have
lighting
another
too. But
reference to the comics with his knuckles. There is this thing. I think is it Evil Claw or Death Claw? I can't remember, but a Wookiee thing where you use your claws in battle. It's frowned upon. It's not seen as a good thing by the Wookiees to use your claws when you are fighting someone. So it's kind of a title of disgrace or mishonor, is that the right word? But Black Chrysanthemum in the comics is known for using his claws, using those shock knuckles. So we have a badass moment where I was like, oh my god, we have the knuckles. Anyway, so yeah, just missed opportunities with that discussion about the Trandoshans and the Wookiees, and like we don't see the Wookiee pelt at any other point in this episode. Are we going to see it later? We have to see more of Black Chrysanthemum. I know. I would be so disappointed if they just let that character go.
like I said, I feel like he's gonna end up coming back and joining forces with Boba Fett
Mm-hmm.
because Boba Fett spared him. So he's
Mm-hmm.
going, and the fact that he's already dishonored by his people, it wouldn't matter that he joined up. Like he doesn't care about the Wookiee species as like he doesn't care about his people either. Like
Mm-hmm.
he did things against his people because he was just all about himself. But like gladiators know about honor amongst gladiators, and when
Not to mention,
he
he
ran
did
off
work for
like
Jabba.
he ran off like he was being chased by something that was so weird. But like I just literally when he ran off, all I could hear is, "Ah!" Like it just is like that's what went through my mind. "Ah!" But so
I
the run
didn't
off
mention before
the
that
run
Black
off.
Chrysanthemum did work for Jabba the Hutt at one
Yes,
point.
yeah. So I feel like he'll come back and like either he'll join him or at least he'll like save him in the moment
Yeah.
kind of
We
thing.
You're supposed to have, it's kind of not really clear, but Boba and Black Chrysanthemum are meant to have history with each other because they both worked for the same person at the same time. It just wasn't really clear in episode 3, but if anything, they do have history together now
Well, it's
because
also the fact that I think there's also the mutual respect of the mutual bounty hunter respect, and that
yeah.
was like the whole hey big guy, nothing personal, just business.
Mhm.
That line was again, and that I think will you know I think he'll come back, and if he doesn't join him, he'll at least save him in a moment.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll see.
I
I
think
I hope
that character needs to be fleshed out more though.
yeah.
I
I
really
mean,
hope we get more of them either in this show or in another show somewhere.
here's another
Um,
thing though. So the Wookiees do not speak English. They understand it, but they cannot speak it. I think it would be really interesting if this character or this Wookiee was able to. That would certainly make it easier on a storytelling perspective because you would need another person, another individual to translate Wookiee in the moment. But that would be interesting. That would be interesting if that's what they did with the character, if they chose to do more
well,
with it.
even if they did it in a way like, kind of similar to how the mayor speaks to a device
Oh,
attached to him,
yes, Yeah, yeah.
maybe did something like that. Because I remember going, well, we see the Jabbas get subtitles, but like
Mm.
if the Wookiee got subtitles, that would feel weird.
Which is actually really sad and disappointing because
Yeah,
why don't we have subtitles
but
for
it feels
Chewbacca?
weird. Like I guess because you've had so many movies with Chewie,
Yeah,
and what you have is somebody who understands him and basically kind of repeats what he says in their response.
yeah.
So it felt like it would be a disservice to the Wookiees in general if he all of a sudden got captions.
I can't
But
remember the name of the species that the mayor is, but the way that they speak kind of sounds like gurgling, which is a big difference between in terms of like volume and sound for the
yeah,
Wookiees because they have a roar. So, I mean, I could see it being used, but like it doesn't really work as well as having a translator there in the moment.
yeah.
And
So I think like I wouldn't want him to learn English.
mm,
I don't think like a Wookiee speaking English feels right either. Just like I wouldn't want the subtitles.
it
Like
would
it.
take an extremely talented voice actor to figure out how to make it sound authentic. Like it is kind of a
Oh,
struggle for them to speak
I
English.
know. Like you get the guy who does the voice of Kratos in God of War.
Uh-huh.
I think could do it.
Oh my god. That
Or
sounds
uh no, that's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, the guy that like he's we all know like if you've seen him as an actor, you saw him on like Stargate SG-1. He was
mm,
the alien, the tall black bald alien that they that became part of the team in the first episode of the series. I can't remember his name for some reason, but if I think he could do it, but that would also kill your voice because you'd have to have so much gravel and like that would
yeah.
suck. So I think maybe giving him the voice like attachment thing.
Hmm.
Get the same guy to do the voice, but then he doesn't have to be so gravelly with it. You still have
Yeah.
that deep like Kratos like voice,
Yeah.
so it would still fit the character, but you wouldn't have to, like I understand what you're saying. Like if it was him actually speaking English, I don't think I want to see a Wookiee speak English. I
No.
don't think I
You
want to see a Wookiee
want
speak
to
just like I don't want the subtitles.
yeah.
Although like every other alien species I wanted subtitles. Like we got him with Jabba the Hutt, but like the Tusken Raiders, I wanted subtitles.
Mm,
But instead, I did appreciate the kind of sign language thing we got.
yeah.
But again, what did we get? A character repeating what they were saying in his response.
And how nice is it to listen to Tamara Morrison?
Yeah, he's
He's
great.
got such a
He is
nice
great. Like
voice.
I think I really appreciate him as Boba Fett,
Yeah.
and I'm more excited now for where the rest of the series goes. I don't know how many episodes the show actually is.
7.
Is it 7?
7. So we're almost halfway through.
Yeah.
This kind episode 3 is now the transition into more of the present.
Like I said, I really wish we'd have just gotten because those flashbacks don't. Not only are they too long, they don't help the narrative in the present. So the
Mm,
transition from back and forth was so weird. Like I really wish we'd instead have gotten like a flashback episode.
yeah.
Like maybe like while he's dreaming in the bath, his healing pod, we get
Hmm.
like quick flashes of it, like you like if you're like you know that kind of thing would have been
Hmm.
cool. And then you explore the whole sequence in one episode
Yeah.
of just in the past, explaining where he's coming from, why does he have this Tuscan weapon, you know, all of that would have been great.
I don't. So everything with the Tuscans, though, I agree. It probably would have functioned better as one episode, but it would have been a really long episode. And again, I like how they took their time with everything. There's one thing that we haven't addressed yet in terms of like the flashbacks, and that is um, the train that's transporting
I
spice.
was literally just about to bring that up because I wanted to mention that because I talked about how I had a lot of issues with the slow pacing and the extra drawn out scenes that were necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought the train scene was also too long, and that's an
Mm.
action scene. But like I thought that it was kind of drawn. I did like the training on the bikes. It felt a
Yes,
lot
loved it.
like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves when he's training the merry men in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
also a little bit like Robin Hood Men in Tights when he's training them. because
Yeah.
of like they kept falling off the thing, jumping across. Like so, I liked that part, and I thought that was perfectly timed. From the time he brought the bikes to the training, like that was a well paced. That section was well paced. I thought the
Yeah.
train scene was a little long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like,
I got to talk about the pikes and
yeah,
go into
yeah, we got to go
theories.
into detail on the pikes because
Yeah.
I think maybe the point of the flashbacks was to show how he screwed up in not killing them, which is what led to the death of the
Well, okay,
tusk.
that's
Like
the thing. If he did
maybe.
kill the pikes in that instance, he probably would have had more problems.
Well, here's my
Um.
other issue. Remember, he goes to that bar to steal the bikes in the first place,
Uh huh.
and he takes out all those. What are they? Who are they? The what the hell was the name of them? They actually have two names. The Pikes call them one thing, like it starts with a K.
What the or what specifically are you referring to again?
The bikers, the people that already have quote unquote state claim to protection of the trade route.
Oh, oh.
But they're
I
also
don't
like
remember, but I
the sons of Anakin, or is that what they were called? The sons of
don't.
Anakin, or the what is it? The children of Anakin. What was it?
I don't think it was a reference to Anakin. I don't
It
remember.
is. It's
We'll find it at some
hold on.
point.
I'll pull it up real quick. But like he beat the hell out of like six of them when he's still not 100% at
Hmm.
this point. He goes in there, beats the hell out of him, breaks his rifle almost. He gets one shot off and then breaks it. So
Hmm.
like it's just hand to hand combat. So when the Pike said that, hey, we can't, they've already
Oh,
placed.
wait. You're talking about the scene at Tashi Station.
Yeah, yeah. Who are they?
Those are actually friends of Luke Skywalker from a deleted scene of A New Hope.
No, not those two people. The people he fought. The two
Oh
people
shit.
are.
I do not remember.
They're the ones that are putting the symbols on the, and they painted the J and the L, or it's like it
Yeah,
looks like
yeah.
yeah. They're the ones that killed all the Tusken Raiders.
Mhm. Anywho, but so I need to talk about the Pikes and their significance
Yeah,
with
talk
all of
about
this.
them, and I'm gonna look these people up.
Yeah.
No,
In
not
the
the
Clone
Tusken Raiders.
Wars, we are introduced to
The Cage
the very
Warriors.
the what?
The Cage Warriors. Kage.
Ah, interesting.
But they're also named something like the group is something like the Children of Anakin or something that was mentioned.
Huh. I missed that. If it was a reference to Anakin, I definitely missed it, and I'll rewatch the episode. But so the Pikes, we see them in a live action show finally, but I think we first see them in the Clone Wars series. The Pikes are a crime syndicate, um, and they transport spice, drugs. They are run a lot of uh, drug manufacturing and words. I don't know how to describe it well, but anyway, we see them in the Clone Wars. And this is where I'm getting into the theories now, because a major part of their significance in the Clone Wars is when Darth Maul basically takes over any crime syndicate he can in order to gain enough power to take over the planet of Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
So we to bullet point all of it. Darth Maul ain't dead. He survives. Some witchy lady called Mother Talzin sends one of their other species, Savage Repress, to find him. Savage Repress is basically the muscle for Darth Maul. Eventually dies, and Darth Maul, takes over Mandalore because he went up to all of the crime syndicates and went, "Okay, join me or die. You don't want to join me? Okay, dead." And took it over. Um, Now, in the very end of the Solo movie, we see Darth Maul again, and we realize that he is the person behind Crimson Dawn. this other super scary organization. And now the Pikes are on Tatooine. Darth Maul had an allegiance with the Pikes. He eventually got captured by the Jedi with the help of Ahsoka Tano and lost all of his power on Mandalore and lost his connections to the crime syndicates. But there's still that connection. And in Solo, we know that he went back to that life, back to that form of power, because he now has his own crime show, essentially, the Crimson Dawn. So I think we're going to see some Darth Maul in this, if not a lot of Darth Maul in Ahsoka and the Obi-Wan series. Like, I feel like he's gonna come through with these shows as opposed to him being in another movie
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Solo.
I agree.
And
So it
I'm
wasn't
so
Anakin.
freaking excited.
It was the Catan Striders, not Anakin Striders. Okay.
Okay.
The Catan.
Big, big difference.
Yeah. I watched the show. I was already pissed. They used the symbol of the Catan Striders, but they're actually the Nikto gang.
Mm-hmm.
The writers are the Nikto Sand Riders, but they use the symbol of the Catan Striders.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know
So
what
at
they're
least they're
doing.
marked. I think that's going to be the next conflict in episode 4. We're going to see Boba going after them or building his family more. But
I
I
think that
really, really hope
I don't
that
think
we
he'll
get
go
some
after
Darth
them
Maul.
next episode. I think maybe when the war with the Pikes, it's obviously coming.
Mm-hmm.
Light Wheels, thank you for the follow, and you get a dancing penguin. I think that they will join up the fight with the Pikes, who are trying to obviously take over
Mm-hmm.
Jabba's territory. And he'll get his revenge through the war that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but apparently, the symbol they're using, the Catan Strider, is actually a creature
Hmm.
first seen in New Hope on the chess set.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's the one that looks
Okay.
like a
I can go
almost
with
like a
that.
yellow Hulk. It's like a big thing.
The one with
So
the super long neck?
no, he has no neck. His head's
Oh,
like
okay.
on his
Okay.
shoulders, and like he looks like the Hulk but yellow.
Got it.
Um,
Super
so
long arms.
hopefully they'll explain why they're using that symbol. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that a creature has a symbol like that is kind of weird.
Eh. Eh. Without
But
a doubt, Boba doesn't have the family, the army, the
yeah,
resources
no, he's
yet
not
to
ready
take
at
the
all.
Pikes. He's not ready.
And
So I'm
also, by the
hoping.
way, going back to the stupid barista hipster Gen Z Power Rangers, the dude with the cybernetic eye said I saw at least a dozen. A good 20 plus people walk out of that ship.
Yeah.
Like easily.
Like,
And
can
we
you
only see
count,
him
please?
we're only looking at it for a good 2 seconds and I
Maybe it's
easily got
because he
20.
doesn't have one eye. It's harder for him to like focus on
He's got
3
two
of.
eyes. One regular eye, one cybernetic eye that is enhanced to give him even a better look.
Yeah.
He could have zoomed in. I saw at least a dozen. Dude, I counted 20 in 2 seconds. What are you doing? Like, that was so dumb. When he said that, I was just like, again, it pulled me out. And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, they're terrible characters.
So hopefully Black Chrysanthemum will be one of the individuals that joins Boba Fett's family team when he eventually does go up against the Pikes. Um, but see, a missed opportunity. The direction that I thought they were going to take it in with Black Chrysanthemum is that it wouldn't be about the Pikes. It would still be about the Hutts. Black Chrysanthemum would be the tribute for the Hutts, and Fennec would be the tribute for Boba Fett. So Fennec would pay off her life debt to Fett essentially in a death against Black Chrysanthemum. But then Boba would lose. If that happened, then Boba would lose Jabba's palace and all that. But that's the direction that I thought they were taking it in.
Yeah, I don't understand even bringing the Huts in for an episode just to. We're going back to our planet because we don't want to deal with this. Like, now, granted, what Fennec said afterwards does at least leave the door open that they might return, or in turn might be funding the Pikes. they might be like in league with the Pikes in a way.
Yeah,
But it did
bad for
like,
business.
yeah, like it just felt
They
like,
said.
yeah, kind of weird. They're like, yeah, we're going back to our home planet. Like what? Like why are you here? Like what was the
Well, so
point?
that's the thing. Jabba ran um oh my god, why brain no work. Tatooine for such a long time, and that was a corner of space that the Hutts also had their tails in. And I get it with like what's the point of the Hutts, but with their sluggish design, they're meant to just be the mafia bosses, the people in power. That's it. Um,
Yeah, I just didn't, I
and
never
we
understood the fear.
the
Like,
fear of them because we don't know what's so scary about them as creatures, but we do see them in Clone Wars more with that mafia boss kind of
yeah,
a
but like
nature.
you're not so much scared of the Hutts as you are scared of who they have hired. But like
Yeah.
a lot of who works for them, they work for them not just for the money, but out of fear. And it's just like I just don't understand where this
Yes.
fear comes from. And I
So
never, I never
here's
did.
the
Like I just never did. But
there's been a lot of talk so far between Fennec and Boba about tradition on Tatooine and in Mos Espa and what the people know and are familiar with. Now that Jabba's gone, sorry, a lot of that is lost. And it makes me think of, okay, when we talked about the pacing and then that awful speeder race, or speeder chase earlier, it made me think of the Mos Espa pod race from the Phantom Menace. And I was like, what happened to that? Where has that gone? Can we bring that back? Can that be a part of Boba, returning something to the people in his rule? So who
now
knows?
this is
But
pod
just to be
racing.
clear, sorry.
Now this is pod racing. So dumb. Um, yeah, of
Come
course.
on.
Yeah, you're in a pod and you're racing. Yeah, it's pod racing, dumbass. Um, I mean, I can see that being kind of cool, but at the same time, it'd be superfluous at this point. Like
No, yeah.
we've already established there's a war coming. The rest of the series needs to be in it. Now season 2 when
Yes,
he's
that's what I mean. Like it's
yeah.
not relevant now because they took it in the direct, and that there are a lot of missed opportunities, and because of the direction that they've taken this in. But it's something that I think about in terms of Fett's rule on Tatooine as daimyo in the future. Who is he going to
Wait, what
be?
happened?
Hmm?
They still had pod racing because didn't Luke mention something about wanting to be a pod racer in New Hope or something like wanting to race? Did they still have
No.
pod racing?
I don't think Luke references pod racing. He does talk about how he wants to join this pilot academy. He wants to stop being a farm boy and go to school so
Well, he
that he
talks
can
about like
like his father.
racing his speeder.
Yes, but not
Maybe
pod
not
racing.
pod racing. Yeah.
Extremely dangerous.
So I'm wondering like when did that end?
Me too.
So
That's
maybe
something
there's a reason like it's not brought back. Maybe it was ended like long before. Obviously, it was ended long before even like Luke's time in New Hope. Maybe
mm-hmm,
it was ended because it became too dangerous. So maybe it's one of the things. But like the mention of gladiators,
mm-hmm.
that brings up could we have gladiator fights? Like, could they have replaced?
Maybe
Could we have replaced pod racing with
with
gladiator events?
gladiatoring.
Like,
Maybe. I mean, so it begs
I
the
want to see
question:
a
what stuff
WWE
is going to be
episode. I
taken
want to
from
see a
the?
WWE wrestling episode of on Book of Boba Fett, and I want that big black Air Force One Wookiee out there
Yeah,
just giving German suplexes to people.
I don't think they have the budget for that yet in
Well, the
terms of
gladiator would be easy
scale.
because you're
Eh,
if you do it in a on a one-on-one style gladiator, you just need
yeah,
one
but
other creature.
the whole thing, the whole visual with the gladiator fights is the Colosseum, is the number of people attending and watching and cheering.
But how many people are actually there in Moss?
Vespa.
Yeah, there's not a ton of people, and if you make it to
Well,
where
that we've seen so far, it is
yeah,
pretty big.
it's big, but also remember you can make it to where gladiators like the only people that can go see gladiator fights are rich people there, and it is established that there's far more poor than rich there. So you can make it like a rich people only kind of thing, so that you don't have to build a huge arena. It could almost be like a backyard gladiator in like the sense in the back of the outside the back of the cantina, the rich people are allowed to sit, and it's just like the crime lord, the mayor, in the like a dozen or so rich people get to watch the gladiators,
Yeah.
and maybe some poor people can get up on the on the roofs and watch or something. But like
Is exactly my point. There's so many fantastic things that they could do with this show, but they are extremely limited by their budget. So the scope of everything, the scale of everything has to be much much smaller. And that's what I
well, I'm not
it's
sure the budget's an issue either. Only because I say that because I believe that Book of Boba Fett is currently the most expensive show
that doesn't well, I mean, if that's true,
on
that
Disney
still doesn't
Plus.
mean that they have the big enough budget or like the amount of time to do what they want with the show.
Well, I mean, you got a lot out of Mandalorian, like a
True,
lot.
but we still didn't get any gladiator ring like
But
scale.
that to me would be cheaper because you only need two people in costume, and you can CGI a Pantheon for relatively inexpensive as far
Actually,
as.
I've got a fun fact to share here. Did you know that all of the wide shots used for the pod racing audience in the Phantom Menace was pretty much all Q-tips,
Yeah.
practically done instead of CGI. So
Yeah.
they had these.
Yeah, the one thing
Um,
they did practically in those movies was the thing they didn't need to do practically. Jesus Christ.
but
Jesus.
so there is this talk about practical effects versus spending the time and the money, like the time to get the CGI editing and all of that done if they chose to go in that direction for the show. But we haven't seen much of that yet because they are limited by
No, they
time.
have kept it very simple for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. I think the Rancor is
It,
probably the most extravagant. No, the train was probably the most extravagant, but the Rancor is
yeah,
going to be. I think the Rancor is going to end up being fairly extravagant. Let's go back to the Rancor. We didn't talk enough about him. Um, I love how
yeah.
we've gotten more character development out of the goddamn Rancor than we did from Boba Fett.
Hey, not true.
No, not really, but like, kinda, kinda. Considering that both of them have about the same amount of screen time in the original trilogy. I just realized that the Rancor's on screen for about 6 to 7 minutes. And Boba Fett is a total of 6 minutes and 32 seconds. The original three
Dude,
movies.
I think our camera froze.
Oh, not again.
Ruh-roh.
No, it did. Damn it. Y'all can still hear me, right?
I mean, if we are having technical issues, I think this would be a good time to like wrap up on. Yeah, your image is gone now. Would be a good time to wrap up on Book of Boba Fett. Oh look, it's me. I'm taking up most of the screen now.
All right, I've switched to my laptop camera for now.
Mm.
We'll go with this to finish off. I gotta figure out what's going on with my camera. But yeah, I just want to say, like, I'm looking forward to what's going on with the Rancor and with him, like, bonding with it and us find out
Mm-hmm.
more about it. And the more Danny Trejo, the better. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see. So obviously the Rancor adds a big weapon to his arsenal because
Yes.
the whole point is he's going to learn to ride it. So it's going to fight for him. It's already imprinted on him.
Yeah.
It's going to fight for him. It'll be out
We're
in the
probably gonna
open.
see him in a big action sequence on the
Yeah,
Rancor
like riding
as
the
he's
Rancor into
taking it out.
battle. So that is the equivalent of at least 10 people, I would say. And that might be going narrow. I mean, it might even be the equivalent of 15 people, 20 people. If it's only a dozen, he could wipe them out with the Rancor.
Yeah.
But I do believe we're going to see more. He's going to have to get more because these kids are not enough. Um,
I
if
want Bosk to return.
if bot,
And help
yeah,
his brother
that would be
out.
one that he could call on. but also let's say he comes back while also uh, Black uh oh my god, why is my
Black
brain shut?
chrysanthemum.
Yeah, Black Chrysanthemum, he comes back, you then get an uneasy alliance between these two species would be
Mm-hmm.
something really cool to explore.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Blobby looks really good. Say hi, Blobby.
Have
Um,
Blobby.
um. So there's definitely possibilities, and I think that yeah, there's a lot of missed opportunities here, but I think that this show does if they focus really if they stop with the flashbacks because I think the flashbacks should be done anyways because it's pretty much
At this point,
yeah I
yes.
think that the way they ended
Unless they show us how he killed Bib Fortuna.
yeah
How
that's the only
all of
other
that
thing
happened.
yeah
I
but
want a little bit of that.
yeah like that would be kind of cool to explore maybe but for the most part flashbacks should be done this series if they really are planning and that might be why we don't see what we're not seeing because they're planning on multiple seasons and that this one is just to establish like this is how he puts his stronghold like his this is where he how he really puts his foot down and really takes control and
Yeah.
becomes the crime lord and that can lead to a fight between him and Darth Maul down the line in
Oh
season
yeah. Well, I mean,
like say a confrontation at the end of season 2 that leads to a third season that is just the two of them going at it.
I think there's a higher this is weird to say now that I'm saying it, but I think there's a higher chance of Boba running into Ahsoka Tano than there is Darth Maul and his
Well, what if you
and Crimson Dawn being involved in Boba's plot. But I really 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 hope that they are going to include that.
what if this happened uh by season 2 of Ahsoka series and the third season
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. I don't know why I always say Ahsoka. Ahsoka, like so, season 2 of her series leads to like season. It kind of bleeds into season 3 of Boba Fett, and we get a crossover of all like Darth Maul, her, and him. Like that would be kind of cool
And don't
too.
forget Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan used to be best buds with
Oh
Ahsoka.
well, wait a minute. Yeah, that's the other thing we have to realize with this series is that right, during all of this, Obi-Wan is on Tatooine. No,
Mm-hmm.
wait, no.
Well, maybe
Nope,
not.
nope. Sorry, Obi-Wan takes place before New Hope.
Yes. Oh
So
shit. Sorry.
yeah,
Timeline.
yeah. I
Ah.
just realized. Nope, I was with you there, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. No, it takes place.
So without a doubt in the Obi-Wan series, like I hate to set these expectations and think on it because I don't want expectations to be ruined, but without a doubt they have to involve Darth Maul into the Obi-Wan series because that all revolves around Obi-Wan and Darth Maul getting revenge, like, you know? So it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to know because there are so many characters and so many different opportunities, so many possibilities for crossovers, and just plots getting intertwined. So exciting stuff, but like I'm a little nerve wracked right now trying to think about it all.
yeah, there's a lot to come. Like I said, like I had my issues with the start of the series, the first 2.5 episodes, but the end of this episode, minus the hipster space Vespa gang, um, and I will give them a chance to redeem themselves as well as far as characters go. Like there's obviously building to something of almost a father daughter. I feel like they're building to a father daughter between Boba and which no, I actually
What
think
we
it's
wanted to see with Han and Ray, but didn't really get.
yeah, but like it also makes more sense here because of the Jenga Boba relationship.
Yeah, yeah,
So like so maybe like we'll build to that. So maybe we'll get a redemption with those characters. Hopefully, we need it. But I'm really excited for what's to come, and it should be if like I'm okay with them not focusing on other stuff if the focus is on now the rest of the episodes is on him establishing himself as the legitimate and respected crime lord.
yes,
If that is what the rest of this series does, then I'm okay with it.
yeah.
And we
Same
stick
here.
to assassination attempts and battles and the war. that's coming. If that's what we stick to now, I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people were hoping for literally like a John Wick but in space with Boba Fett. I think that's taking it too far with the character. I think that's like
You know how I feel about John Wick,
yeah,
so.
I know you have no taste. It's fine. Um
Oh my god.
like but we don't need a hitman in that aspect. We don't need gun
He's
fu.
beyond that at this
Yeah,
point.
we don't need gun fu. He's on an age. His body is still obviously he has to heal every single night. Like he's not in a place to be like that. Um so yeah, I think that and also it just is something you just don't see in Star Wars. Like it just doesn't really fit Star Wars. Star Wars has like their style when it comes to fighting, and they've expanded on it with like Mandalorian and stuff. But like I remember like if like the lightsaber scenes in the prequel were amazing. However, they
Hmm.
felt a little out of place because what we saw in the original trilogy.
Because it was such a big change
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, it was a huge
It's not that
change.
it's out of place in terms of the story, because it makes sense for these Jedi who are constantly training for this to be
Yeah, but
absolutely.
it also went very like flippy and matrixy a little bit, and that's because of the
Yeah.
times. Um, so that
But
was kind of
I
to be
think it's
expected. But like
justified change.
we
Yeah.
found we found a great kind of medium to that in the sequel trilogy
Hmm.
and in Mandalorian and everything else. So I think we've gotten to where Star Wars has truly established their kind of fighting style, whether it be in space battles, like with Star Destroyers and whatnot, whether it be between laser guns and saber and everything. Like they've really kind of like so to all of a sudden go with that to change again to like this John Wick style of like I said, gun fu. It'd be a little weird. I feel it would feel out of place. So I'm happy they didn't go that route. I'm happy they've not done that, and I'm looking forward to the battles that we're gonna get. Because besides that first fight scene with the shielded the assassins of the Night's Winds,
Uh-huh.
Knights Knights wins was Knights plural, whatever.
I don't remember.
Besides that terrible fight, what like the fight we got in the third episode, everything. I feel like that's like we're on the right track as far as that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
yeah, because my camera looks like shit. Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
Um,
So are you still hating the show?
like I
Do you
said,
still think it's a shit show?
it's still on the shit list right now, but like
Ah,
the last half of the third episode, like I said, it was enough to bring me back for episode 4. And the series, being
good.
that it's a 7 episode series, there's plenty of time to redeem itself. And I can forgive an opening 2 episodes of shit if the rest of the series is good.
Yeah.
So next week, we've got Peacemaker coming out
Hmm.
tomorrow morning. I think it comes out midnight on HBO. I don't
Is
think
it the entire series?
it's the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
We've also got Scream 5 opening tomorrow. I'm excited about that. Super excited. Hopefully, one day Lily will eventually get to see Spider Man No Way Home.
Uh-huh.
Because I know she'll have a lot to say about that. I know we've already covered it on the podcast with my friend Superhero Talk,
Hmm.
Michael Rothman, but I'd like to get Lily's take on it as well because there's a lot to cover there. So hopefully she'll get to see that soon enough. I've also convinced her to watch the first Scream movie,
Yay.
and I'm gonna watch Scream 5 tomorrow, and then let her know if she needs to see the other movies or not. Because 2, 3, and 4, meh, but the first one, it's a classic. It's a classic, and it's a horror movie I think she'll appreciate. So,
Yeah.
um, thank everybody for
Hopefully
hanging
that'll
out. Um, we're actually gonna go raid G4 TV. And this is actually starting my campaign to get G4 TV to buy us, and we can come part of the G4 TV team. So we're gonna start raiding them every week. So everybody, just hang on. I appreciate you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for being here.